And to the rest of the people that are watching us live on the internet, I want to say good afternoon. And it's good to stand before you on another one of the Lord's high Sabbath days. And we're going to get right down to the lesson, sisters and brothers, because I want to get through so we can take our time and eat that food up. Because I figure if it get to smelling, ain't nobody going to be listening to me anyway. But sisters and brothers, this is the last feast among flesh and blood men. What do I mean? Because when we get to the 8th day, we're going to show you that feast is not going to be in man's kingdom. That's going to be in the Father's kingdom. Because when you look at these feasts that the Lord have us taking, sisters and brothers, all of them are 7 days. Every one is 7 days. And that coincides with what the Lord is doing with man. He gave this man 7,000 years from the day that he created him to get it right until the Lord comes and he will first have a first fruit among men in the first resurrection. And then at the end of the 7th day, sisters and brothers, he's going to have a white throne judgment. And when he get through with the judgment, there will be no longer a species that's called man. We will be called by the oldest name in the book, and that is God. But people don't understand this, and people hear things like this, and they get all crazy. These people have lost their mind. We sure have. We have lost that uninformed mind. And we have gained an edified mind. But we're going to start these feasts, sisters and brothers. And everybody say the Feast of the Jews, Feast of the Jews. And I'm always miffed when I hear that sound. We're going to start at the 23rd chapter of Leviticus. Like I said before, these are the only feasts we keep, sisters and brothers. We don't keep all the rest of them like a dedication and the Purim and all that. It's because those feasts have nothing to do with salvation. Those are civil days. But everything you see in the 23rd chapter of Leviticus, all of these feasts, is God is letting them know his plan, and every one of them is geared towards salvation. Because this is what this creation is all about. Now we're going to start this in the 23rd chapter of Leviticus, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. Leviticus 23 and verse 1. Okay, read it.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them,
Go ahead.
Concerning the feast of the Lord.
Speak unto the children of Israel concerning them, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord. It didn't say the feast of the Jews, sisters and brothers. Go ahead and read.
Which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts.
Now you got to have holy gathering, holy assemblies on these. These are my feasts, because this is a holy convocation that we're having right now. Now skip down to verse 4 and go ahead.
These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations.
Go ahead.
Which ye shall proclaim in their seasons.
So we're supposed to keep these feasts on the day that the Lord tell us to keep the feast. Right. That includes the Passover, because the Passover is sorely abused in the name of communion. People have that once a Sunday, twice a Sunday. Some people have it every Sunday because they're going to praise the Lord a whole lot. You are not praising the Lord. You are not obeying the Lord. The Lord told you to have the Passover once a year. And he tell you the month to have it in, even the day to have it on. So he wants his feast proclaimed in their season. Now let's deal with this feast at hand. We're going to skip down to verse 33. This is the Feast of Tabernacles. And what we're going to do, sisters and brothers, we're going to let the Bible tell us how long these feasts last. No interpretation, no assumption, no I feel. What it says. Verse 33, go ahead and read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying,
Go ahead.
Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord.
He said, our 15th day of the 7th month. That's when it starts. shall be the Feast of Tabernacles, 7 days unto the Lord. Now, do we understand what 7 is?
Yes.
You know, we're supposed to be a highly educated nation. 7 days. Go ahead and read.
On the first day shall be in holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
On the first day shall be a holy convocation. Then you shall do no servile work therein. Go ahead and read.
7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
We don't do that no more because animal sacrifice stopped when Jesus died on the cross. But still we keep the days. Go ahead.
On the 8th day shall be in holy convocation unto you.
We just went someplace else, sisters and brothers. 7 days you should keep a feast to the Lord. Offering a fire offering to the Lord for 7 days. But on the 8th day shall be a holy convocation. Wait a minute. Now, could the 8th day be a part of the Feast of Tabernacles? We know because we can count, can't we? Don't have to be no rocket scientist to know that. Go ahead and finish that.
And you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no servile work therein.
It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no servile work therein, sisters and brothers. No servile work, because it is a solemn assembly. Well, Brother Boyd, that's a solemn assembly. That means that we ain't supposed to eat on this day. Did I read that? I'm going to throw something in right quick. Let's go into Exodus, the 13th chapter. Exodus chapter 13. And we're going to read one verse. Verse 6. Exodus 13 and verse 6. Read it.
7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread. And in the 7th day shall be a feast to the Lord.
In the 7th day shall be a feast unto the Lord. 7 days, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now we want to remember this. On that 7th day is a feast to the Lord. This is unleavened bread, ain't it? Now, are we to eat on this 7th day? And in the 7th day, didn't that say that?
7th day.
Shall be a feast unto the Lord, ain't it?
Yes.
That means you're going to eat on this day, don't you?
Right.
Now we're going to continue our lesson. I just wanted to take a detour. Now let's go into Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter. Deuteronomy chapter 16. But we're going to hit a little verse on our way to where we're going. Deuteronomy 16. And we're going to read verse 8. 16 and 8. Go ahead and read.
6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread.
Wait a minute now. This is unleavened bread. That's not this feast, right? But I went back to show you that in unleavened bread that the 7th day was a feast day, didn't it? So now this is unleavened bread. We've had this already, but I just wanted to throw this in. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread. Go ahead and read.
6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord.
Wait a minute. There can't be a solemn assembly because you can't eat on a solemn assembly. So Moses didn't know what he's talking about in Exodus, the 16th chapter, didn't he? When he said you should feast on this day. Enough said. Skip right on down to verse 13 and let's continue. Verse 13, because we're dealing with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. I just want to let you know, sisters and brothers, when the book says solemn assembly, whatever you do on the solemn assembly in one place, you do it in another place. I was told, well, solemn assembly means two different things. You read it in this Jewish book. Wait a minute. When I read the book, Jesus told me in Revelation, the 20th chapter, that everybody was judged according to the thing that's written in this book. It was in this book. I'm going to deal with it. And when I stand before the Lord, you know, you said that I'm going to be judged by what's written in this book. So I ain't going nowhere else. Verse 13, go ahead.
Thou shalt observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days. After that, thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine.
Say it again. How many days? 7
days.
Go ahead and read.
And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son and thy daughter, and thy manservant and thy maidservant, and the Levite, the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow that are within thy gates.
That means everybody that's a part of Israel If it's a stranger or whatever, if you're a part of Israel, because you don't have to be an Israelite to be a part of Israel.
Right.
All you have to do is to be a servant of God. You can be spiritual Israel. That's by keeping the God's laws and the statutes. Now, if you're going to be spiritual Israel, you got to keep this feast too. Feast is not just for us. This feast is the Lord's feast. That's for the whole world, sisters and brothers. This is what we have to impress on this world. Man have split this thing up. Well, see, this belongs to the Jews and this belongs to the Christians. If it belonged to the Christians, then it belonged to the Jews. Why? Because the Jew is the original Christian. Ignorant sisters and brothers is like a wet blanket on this earth. It covers everybody. What verse are we?
Verse 15.
Go ahead.
7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast.
All the feasts are solemn. Solemn means serious. I mean, we ain't playing around here. This is some serious business here. That's what solemn is. Serious, real crucial, real necessary. Go ahead.
7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast unto the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord shall choose.
Go ahead.
Because the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thine increase and all the works of thine hands. Therefore thou shalt surely rejoice.
Go ahead.
3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God.
Look, sisters and brothers, these are not the only 3 that we're going to name that you have to appear. You have to show up on the Passover. You have to show up on Atonement. You have to show up on the 8th day. But it named 3. But we have to know that it's more because we read the book. But he still said 3 times a year, didn't it? You should come, but go ahead and read.
Appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose.
Go ahead.
In the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and in the Feast of Weeks,
Go ahead.
and in the Feast of Tabernacles.
Go ahead.
And they shall not appear before the Lord empty.
And you should not appear before empty. Look, sisters and brothers, the Lord got everything synchronized. He gets 7 unleavened bread 7 days. Okay, the Feast of Weeks, that's Pentecost. 7 times 7
49.
days is 49. He ain't got away from his 7. And Tabernacle, 7 days. Because the Lord have a plan, sisters and brothers. And he have told this man about his plan, and he remind you of the same thing over and over. That's why you have to pay attention to what's reading. So you should keep this, and the 3 feasts, unleavened bread, 7 days. Feast of Weeks, that's Pentecost, 7 weeks. Feast of Tabernacle, 7 days. And he said, don't appear before him empty. You ain't never put nothing in the plate the whole year. This is the day you're supposed to put something here. You understand? But did we finish that?
We finished that.
So now, this Feast of Tabernacles, sisters and brothers, it is also called the Feast of Ingathering. Because this is the last feast of the year among man. That's Tabernacle. After this, when this come to pass, this and Jesus fulfill this while he's on earth, in which we're going to deal with some of it, ain't going to be no more man. It's just going to be God. Did we say verse 17? Read it.
Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee.
Every man. So now let's go on to Leviticus, the 25th chapter. Because we're going to show you, sisters and brothers, that this feast is also the Feast of Ingathering. Because this is when the Lord is going to gather all his people. During Tabernacle, he's going to gather the people. And then before it starts, he's going to gather the first fruit from among the dead. And the people that's going to change from among the dead. This is the time when the Lord going to start putting his whole house together. Right now, he letting man fumble around. And that's what man is doing, fumbling around. Leviticus 25, we're going to start reading at verse 1. Leviticus 25 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord.
Now, if man had understood this, we wouldn't be all getting sick from chemicals that's coming in the vegetation and everything they put down there to make it grow. All you have to do is you got to get a land 1 year to rejuvenate, and we'll be eating healthy food now. But don't nobody listen to the Lord. He ain't got no sense. He only created everything. Go ahead and read.
6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard.
Go ahead.
And gather in the fruit thereof.
Go ahead.
But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land.
A Sabbath of rest unto the land. Let it rejuvenate. Go ahead and read.
A Sabbath for the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard.
You don't do nothing. Just let the weeds grow. And in other words, but it would be rejuvenate. So you don't have to put chemicals in there. Then you eat the chemicals, and then then your animals eat the grass, and now you got to shoot them up with all kind of hormones and antibiotics, which we eat. Go ahead and read.
That which groweth of its own accord of thy harvest, thou shalt not reap. Neither gather the grapes of thy vine undressed, for it is a year of rest unto the land.
A year of rest unto the land. But skip down to verse 8, because the Lord ain't just talking about food. He's still dealing with his plan. Verse 8, go ahead and read.
And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee. 7 times 7 years.
Go ahead.
And the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years.
Now there's 7 Sabbaths of years. Now the Lord letting you know he's still dealing with the number 7 because he gave man 7 days. He said, so now I want you to number 7 Sabbaths unto you. 7 times 7, he said, that is 49 years. What verse was that?
We just finished verse 8.
Go ahead and read.
Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month.
Now, we're going to find out what this is, this trumpet of the jubilee. You're going to cause it to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. Go ahead.
And the day of atonement shall you make the trumpet sound throughout all your land.
And the day of atonement, that's what we had last week, ain't it? What trumpet is that the Lord is talking about on the day of atonement? That's going to cause everybody to return to their property. What is this trumpet of Jubilee? We're going to run it down a little bit, sisters and brothers. Let's go first to Matthew's, the 24th chapter. Matthew's chapter 24. Because we're going to see how the Bible runs all of this stuff and put it together. Matthew's 24, and we're going to start reading at verse 27. Because there's a time that's going to come up on this earth, sisters and brothers, called the Great Tribulation. This is a time that you won't be able to buy or sell unless you receive a mark that's called the mark of the beast. This mark, they prepare you for it, by the way, every Ash Wednesday. In your forehead and in your right hand. And that's the time when the Lord's going to let Satan, minion, have his way. Even going to let him make war with the saints and win for 3.5 years. But after the 3.5 years, the Lord's going to terminate it. Let's start at verse 27. Go ahead and read.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
And the Lord is letting you know, you're going to see me coming from the sky. Because the thing going to be told all around the world that Jesus is back and he's sitting in the temple in Jerusalem. Because the abomination of desolation is going to stand in the holy place, which is going to be in the temple that's going to be built, and it cannot be broken because it's prophesied. So the Lord said, when you hear him say, he's in the field, don't go. He's in the secret chamber, don't go. He's in the temple in Jerusalem, don't go. Because just like you see the lightning coming from the east and shining forth to the west, in other words, like you see the lightning in heaven and everybody see it, so will the coming of the Son of Man. So will I come. But when am I going to come? He's going to date it. Skip down to verse 29. Verse 29 and read it.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days. You have churches teaching right now where you see the Lord going to take the church up. See, they used to didn't know about the Great Tribulation. But then they found out about it. So now they said the Lord is going to take the church, rapture the church off before the Great Tribulation. Sisters and brothers, all the Bible tell you ain't nobody going nowhere until Jesus comes. They even teach that in the churches. So now, when is he coming? After the tribulation of those days. Go ahead and read.
Shall the sun be darkened?
Shall the sun going to be darkened?
And the moon shall not give her light. And the stars shall fall from heaven. and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
So that means ain't nobody going to be stole off the earth like this movie they made, Left Behind, is it? Everybody going to see this. And all the nations of the earth going to mourn, because when Jesus comes, sisters and brothers, he's going to do some real damage. And we getting a break. We getting a better break than Noah them got. In Noah's day, he just got mad and drowned everybody. This time, he's just going to come up and kill him a few thousand, a few 100,000. But he ain't going to destroy all of the earth except for one or two people. So he said, so you see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with great power. Go ahead and read.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds and from one end of heaven to the other.
Now, the Lord always throwing a part for his people, for Israel. When he come, he's going to send his angel with the sound of the trumpet. See, don't nothing happen before that trumpet, which is the trumpet of Jubilee, sisters and brothers. Nothing happened before that. He's going to send his angel after that trumpet sound, and he's going to gather his elect, which is Israel. He's talking about the physical elect now. But when you understand it too, he's going to gather a spiritual elect. Who are those at that same trumpet? The one that's in the first resurrection. But this is talking about Israel right now. He's going to gather his elect from one end of the earth. That's heaven, sisters and brothers, because people don't understand we have three heavens. Did you finish that?
Yes.
We have three heavens. People don't know about that. That's when people say, well, when I get to heaven, I said, which one? Don't you know you just might be walking in one right now? You can't get to the third one. Do you want to get to the second? Yeah, jump up.
Take a plane.
That's why the Bible always talking about the fowls that flies in the heaven. When the last time you seen a bird that flew up around the stars and the moon? Once you get off the ground, you're in the second heaven, sister and brother. That's what I call learning something on your way to learning something. But he's going to send his angel with the sound of the trumpet, and he's going to gather his elect from one end of the heaven, which is at the first heaven. That means from one end of the earth to the other. Let's go and pursue this great trumpet. Let's go into Isaiah the 27th chapter. Isaiah chapter 27. Because all this is going to happen, sisters and brothers, in the year of Jubilee, which is the day on the Day of Atonement. This is also the year of Pentecost, the 50th year, when everybody going to be returned. But it all starts with the trumpet. Isaiah 27 and verse 12. 27 and 12. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt.
Go ahead.
And ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel.
And let you know he ain't going to leave one Israelite scattered all over the earth. I don't care where you are. If you down in a 20-foot hole and don't nobody know, the Lord, you're going to tell an angel, tell somebody to go down there and pull him out. If you in the dungeons in prison, let him go. One by one, O children of Israel. Go ahead and read.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown.
That great trumpet shall be blown.
And they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria. And the outcast in the land of Egypt. And shall worship the Lord in the holy mount at Jerusalem.
Look, another scripture lets you know that he's going to gather you together, not only from Assyria and Egypt, but from everywhere. And everybody's going to go to Jerusalem, because that's where the Lord's going to be when that starts happening. Because Israel as a nation do not get returned until the Lord comes. Then they're going to take you to Jerusalem, sisters and brothers. And once you get there, there's going to be great joy. Let's go back to Leviticus, the 25th chapter now. Should have told you to hold your spot there. Back to Leviticus chapter 25. Because you know what Jubilee is. That's great joy, rejoicing, ain't it? Everybody happy. Jumping up and down. And it's going to be a happy time like that on this earth. You wouldn't believe it now, the way things going. But that's one of the things, the servant of God, use to sustain himself. And don't get caught up in the craziness and the foolishness of this world, because you know what's coming. So you develop patience and you wait on it. Now, he's accounting to you 7 Sabbaths. And down to 7 times 7 is 49. And we're going to pick this up at verse 10. Verse 10, 25 and 10. Okay, go ahead.
And you shall hallow the 50th year.
And you're going to hallow the 50th year.
And proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof.
Now that's the year of Pentecost, sisters and brothers. Mm-hmm. That represents the time when the Lord is going to come and everybody's going to be liberated. Proclaim liberty to everyone. Go ahead and read.
It shall be a jubilee unto you. And you shall return every man unto his possession.
Go ahead.
And you shall return every man unto his family.
Look, sisters and brothers, it is even written in Jeremiah that a time going to come when everybody's going to turn to their own people and everybody's going to flee to their own country. Everybody's going to be put back where the Lord wanted them to be when he scattered the nations. He's going to do that. And everybody's going to be happy. It's going to be a happy time here. What verse are we?
We have verse 11.
Go ahead.
A jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. You shall not sow, neither reap that which groweth of itself in it.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a 50th year. Ain't nobody going to have time to be planting crops. Everybody's going to be happy.
That's right.
Everything's going to be plentiful. Going to be a jubilee. Everybody's going to be planting. Everybody's going to be happy. You can't even imagine in your mind what this earth is going to be like when the Lord comes. Go ahead and read.
Nor gather the grapes in it of thy vine undressed.
Go ahead.
For it is the jubilee. It shall be holy unto you. You shall eat the increase thereof out of the field. In the year of this jubilee, you shall return every man unto his possession.
I mean, every man. That means everybody's going to go back to where they come from. And the Lord want to set it up like that. Of course, you're going to have people that's among Israel, because when Israel come out of Egypt, it was a mixed multitude. And then when those people come, then they're just like being adopted by the nation, because the Lord said when you're passing out the inheritance among the 12 tribes, you got to give a stranger his portion among you too. You got to do it. Because everybody is going to return to their own possession. In this year, when the trumpet of Jubilee sounds, what else does that trumpet of Jubilee announces? Let's go into 1 Thessalonians and look at it. Just let you know, sisters and brothers, the Lord is talking the same thing all over, like I said last week. The Lord tells the same message all the time. He just tells it by different people. All you got to do is read this book, and you will know what's going on. You don't have to be, well, I wondered about this, and I wonder if the Lord, I wonder if I'm saved. I said, let now know. And I can tell you when you're going to be saved. But that's another lesson. 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter. And we're going to start reading at verse 13. Because it's obvious somebody died. And they died right. But the people was mourning over them. And Paul telling you, you don't have to mourn over these people. These people died right. It's the one that died wrong. That's the one you're mourning over. Who's the people that die wrong? The one that don't keep the commandments of Jesus and the commandments of God and the testimony of Jesus. That's the one that died wrong. But if you've been doing it, and you die while you're doing it, you just caught a break. Because as long as you're living, you can mess up. But once you die, wherever your fate is, it's etched in stone. Verse 13, go ahead.
But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep.
Go ahead.
That ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope.
Now, he said, I don't want you to be ignorant about sorrowing for the people that was right, like you were sorry for other people that don't have hope. Go ahead and read.
For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again,
and we do, go ahead.
Even so them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him.
He's going to bring them with him. Oh, Brother Boy, that mean they're in heaven? No, let's keep reading now. We ain't going to assume nothing. Go ahead and read.
For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain until the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep.
Those of us that are living, we're not going to get in the way of those that sleep, that are dead. Go ahead and read.
For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God.
There's that trump of Jubilee. And it's always got to be there, that trumpet of Jubilee. That's that 7th trumpet, sister and brother. With the trump of God, go ahead and read.
And the dead in Christ shall rise first.
Go ahead.
Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so shall we ever be with the Lord.
But I always like to emphasize this. Remember, the Lord has started descent, didn't he? That's a descent, means he's coming down. So those that are on the earth and in the earth going to be rose and change, and you're going to meet the Lord in the air. And so shall we ever be with the Lord. The question is, where is that? Let's go find out. Because Paul said, according to the word of God, didn't he? Well, let's go and look at it. Let's go into Zechariah, the 14th chapter. Zechariah chapter 14. Because we have to take these steps, sisters and brothers, because the world have been so woefully mistaught. Until you can't miss anything. You have to tell it all. You have to tell it all. We're going to start at verse 3. At verse 3. Okay, Zechariah 14 and verse 3. Okay, go ahead.
Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle.
See, that's when the Lord this is the battle of Armageddon. He's going to go forth and start like he did in the old days. Go ahead and read.
And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives.
Where is that?
Which is before Jerusalem on the east.
Oh, the Mount of Olives is east of Jerusalem, ain't it? On this earth. Go ahead and read.
And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof, toward the east and toward the west.
Go ahead.
And there shall be a very great valley. And half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south.
Because when the Lord, even Jesus, when his feet hit that mountain is going to split, because he's coming in power now. Go ahead and read.
And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountain. For the valley of the mountain shall reach unto Hazor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, ye shall flee like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, the king of Judah.
So now you're going to run like you ran in the day of Uzziah. Before the earthquake. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord my God shall come.
Go ahead.
And all the saints with thee.
And the Lord my God shall come and all the saints with him. Where did he get them from? Remember, they met him in there, didn't they? But what happened is, he kept coming, they came up and turned around, and everybody came down with him, sisters and brothers. 2/3 of the angels and all the people in the first resurrection. They all come, and they all gonna hit this earth. And when the Lord hit this earth, is he gonna go back? Skip down and read verse 9. Verse 9, read it.
And the Lord shall be king over all the earth. And that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one.
He's going to be king over all the earth. There's going to be one Lord and his name one, sisters and brothers. They're going to come up with all these names that people try to call them and they don't know what. But they kick on the name of Jesus. But if you go into Malachi, the 1st chapter, and also the 2nd chapter, the Lord will tell you that his name going to be great among the Gentiles, from the rising of the sun to the going down of the same. And he said also his name going to be great among the nations. You find the greatest name among the white folks and the whole world. What name do you come up with? Jesus. I got to roll with that. He said my name, so I'm pretty sure God knows what his name is. But people want to kick on it and have a problem with it. I say you have gotten that problem because you have listened to some uninformed person. Going to tell you what when a J came on. Like God don't know what he's doing. I keep telling people God speak fish. He told that fish to bring him some money so he can pay tribute. Then he told that big fish, go on down there, I'm going to shake the boat, and they're going to throw Jonah over it. I want you to swallow him. Don't digest him now. Now I'm going to let him hang out inside of you 3 days. And then I want you to go and throw him up on the rock. That fish, yassa balls. Swimming on down there. Here comes Jonah. Boom. And then after 3 days, he went all over, threw him up on the rock, and then the Lord said, Jonah,
that's tough.
Go down there and prophesy to Nineveh. Jonah didn't run that time, didn't he? So how you going to tell me that God don't know his name? Anybody can speak fish or anything. He can speak grasshopper.
Donkey.
He can speak toads.
Donkey.
Didn't he call the grasshoppers up on the Egyptians? Did he put toads all over their house? You going to tell me you going to argue with him over language? I'm not going to call you no name. Because we're going to get better than that. So the Lord going to be king over all earth, and his name going to be one. Skip down to verse 16 and go ahead.
And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
Now, that's how important this time. This is the one that's going to be, this is the last one, sisters and brothers. All the rest of them are coming to the end. But now all nations that's left after the Lord and got through killing and destroying, all of them that's left are going to have to come up from year to year to keep this feast that we are observing right now, the Feast of Tabernacles, because this is the Feast of Ingathering. Go ahead and read what verse?
Verse 17. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
Now, where is to come up to Jerusalem to worship the King? Who is that? Jesus, right. Sitting on the throne of David in the temple. If you don't come up to worship him, you ain't getting no rain on your crops. If you don't get no rain on your crops, you're going to go hungry because ain't nothing going to grow. Go ahead and read.
And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that came not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
So there ain't going to be no request. This ain't no request now. He commanded us to keep these feasts, sisters and brothers. But people are not doing it all over the world because they don't know nothing about it because nobody has taught them anything. The only thing they teach you is holler and scream and tell you how full of the Spirit and the Holy Ghost that's filled you up. And they wouldn't know the Holy Ghost if it crawled in and bit them on the foot. We know what it is. Hang around long enough, we'll show you what it is. So everybody have to come and keep this. Skip verse 19, read it.
This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
So everybody got to come up. Everybody. Zechariah telling you this, but I'm going to tell you, sisters and brothers, John going to tell you the same thing that wrote Revelation. Let's go into Revelation, the 15th chapter. So God's prophets and apostles co-signs one another. Therefore, you know that these guys and all these generations apart, how is that they going to co-sign one another? Unless they're being dictated, like Solomon said in Ecclesiastes, by one shepherd. One shepherd. That's why the story is straight, because you got the same one that's telling it to every generation. He don't have no memory lapse. He don't get tired. Can't nobody influence it. So everybody, according to Zechariah, going to have to come up and worship the Lord. What Lord is that? Jesus. Revelation 15 and 1. 15 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of God.
Go ahead.
And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God.
Go ahead.
And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works.
So if you gotten victory over it, that means you're in the first resurrection, ain't it? He says, great and marvelous are thy works. Go ahead and read.
Lord God Almighty.
Go ahead.
Just and true are thy ways.
Go ahead.
Thou King of saints. Who shall not fear thee?
Go ahead.
O Lord, and glorify thy name. For thou only art holy.
Go ahead.
For all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest.
He said, who should not fear you? For you only and holy. Only are holy, and all the nations are going to come to worship before you. That's what Zechariah just told you.
That's right.
Why are they going to come and worship before the Lord in Jerusalem? Because if they don't, he ain't going to let it rain on their crops. And if you don't let it rain on their crop, we're going to get some hungry people.
That's right.
Everything, even the weed, have to have water to grow. So we're looking at this, sisters and brothers. All this going to happen once the Lord come back, do it, and start to operate on the Feast of Tabernacles. Because this is the same time. This is talking about the last time, the ingathering. That's what this represents, sisters and brothers. Now let's go back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. because it's the most stuff we have to point out that this feast was pointing out, because God is going to let you know that there are certain conditions that you have to meet. Because everything that the Lord tells you, sisters and brothers, everything that he tells you have something to do with salvation. Informs you. So you will know how long you have to do whatever the Lord wants you to do. Now we're going to start at verse 39. Leviticus 23 and verse 39. 23 and 39. Okay, go ahead.
Also on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land,
go ahead.
You shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days.
Go ahead.
On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath.
Now he said, when you come in, when you gather the first fruit of the harvest, that's after the grown up harvest, that means that something that's grown up come out of the ground, you shall keep a feast. On the 7th day, it's going to be
first day.
On the first day, it's going to be a solemn assembly. And on the 8th day, go ahead and read.
And you shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees,
go ahead.
And the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days.
Now, he said you're going to do this, but it tell you the first day is the Sabbath day, and the 8th day is the Sabbath, but he tell you you're going to go and you're going to get branches from trees and vines and whatever. And you're going to rejoice for 7 days. What are you going to do with these? Put your marker here. We're coming back. What are you going to do with these trees and these branches? Let's go into Nehemiah, the 8th chapter, and find out. Nehemiah chapter 8. Nehemiah comes right after 2 Chronicles. Ezra, rather, which come out the 2 Chronicles. Nehemiah chapter 8. Because this is information that God wants us to have, because he had it written in the book. If he didn't want us to have it, it wouldn't be in the book. Nehemiah chapter 8, and we're going to start reading at verse 14. Nehemiah chapter 8 and verse 14. Okay, read it.
And they found written in the law which the Lord had commanded by Moses that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month.
Now, you know, see a lot, sisters and brothers, a lot of time Israel, we are not the first that lost what we were supposed to do. According to the law of God. Israel, through all them captivities and being scattered, they also lost count and lost knowledge on what they're supposed to do. So now once they got back there, Ezra and Nehemiah got back to the land, they started to find the books of the law. Now, they found in the book of the law that you're supposed to keep this feast. Go ahead and read.
And that they should publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, go forth unto the mount and fetch olive branches and pine branches and myrtle branches and palm branches and branches of thick trees to make booths, as it is written.
Oh, so now we know why he said in Leviticus the 28th chapter, tell them to go and get all these branches of all these trees, don't it? To make booths. What's a booth? That's a little old temporary dwelling, little houses they make. He didn't say get tents like some people get. They had tents in the days of Israel. So if he wanted you to put up a tent and sit under it, then he would have said, I want them to put tents up. But he wants you to get something that you know was very temporary. You're going to make you a place to live out of tree branches and palm branches and vines. You know, if it rained on you, you have to get up out of that. Go ahead and read.
So the people went forth and brought them and made themselves booths, every one upon the roof of his house, and in their courts and in the courts of the house of God, and in the street of the water gate, and in the street of the gate of Ephraim.
So wherever they could find a spot to make that booth, they set it up. They erected it out of them branches. Go ahead and read.
And all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths and sat under the booths.
They sat under the booth. Go ahead and read.
For since the days of Joshua the son of Nun, unto that day had not the children of Israel done so.
Ain't that something? I mean, they hadn't done this since the days of Joshua the son of Nun. That means that Israel messed up a whole lot in the land, didn't it?
Yep.
You know, Joshua was the one that brought them into the land. And they dropped this. They didn't keep this all that time. Until Ezra and Nehemiah went back to the land after the Cyrus the Persian let them go. That is really something, ain't it?
Yeah.
But this has been the book of the law all the time. Think about it. From Joshua until Ezra and Nehemiah, they had not kept this feast. And have not done this, set under the boots. Go ahead and read.
And there was very great gladness. Also, day by day, from the first day until the last day, he read in the book of the law of God.
Go ahead.
And they kept the feast 7 days. And on the 8th day was a solemn assembly according unto the manner.
So they kept the feast 7 days, but the 8th day was a solemn assembly. But we're gonna pursue these booths, sisters and brothers, because these booths represent a temporary dwelling. That's why they had to set in them during the Feast of Tabernacles, which also represent tents, shelters, or even represent this body that you're in. Let's pursue it. Let's go into 2 Peter, the 1st chapter. Keep your marker in in Leviticus. 2 Peter, the 1st chapter. Because the Lord put this here, he wants us to look at this. And we're going to start reading at verse 13. 2 Peter, chapter 1, verse 13. 2 Peter, chapter 1, we're going to start reading at verse 13. Okay, read it.
Yeah, I think it meet, as long as I am in this tabernacle, to stir you up by putting you in remembrance.
Now, as long as I'm in this tabernacle, what tabernacle is he talking about? Is he sitting on the boot now? No, he's talking about his body. Go ahead and read.
Knowing that shortly I must put off this my tabernacle.
Knowing shortly I must put off this my tabernacle.
Even as our Lord Jesus Christ hath showed me.
Go ahead.
Moreover, I will endeavor that ye may be able after my decease to have these things always in remembrance.
He said, now I'm telling you this, because I want you to be able to remember them after I am dead. You understand what I'm saying? That's after he will put off this tabernacle. That means that Peter took his body off and went and got him another one. We're going to pursue this a little bit because there's something in here we're going to clear up today also. So let's go and pursue this. Let's go into 2 Corinthians, the 5th chapter. Back up to 2 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, because he said, look, the day going to come, you're going to have to take off this tabernacle. And when he do, I ain't going to be able to communicate with you. That's why I'm telling you, I want you to put it in memory. 2 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. 2 Corinthians 5 and 1. We might learn something on our way to learning something today. Go ahead and read.
For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved,
well, we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle will dissolve, go ahead and read.
We have a building of God, and house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens.
That's why people, now that's why you got the old thing, you see, I got me a house in heaven. See, when this old body die, I'm going to leave this body and go to my house in heaven. But the Lord said he's going to raise that old body. So now you got your problem. Which one you going to live in? We're going to get some sense out of this today. Go ahead and read.
For in this we groan, earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house, which is from heaven.
Now, this is the tabernacle that Peter was talking about, on it. Now, we really want to be clothed upon our tabernacle, which is in heaven. I say it a lot of times. I'll be so glad when I get that new body. But until that time comes, I got to live with this one. Go ahead and read.
If so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked.
If so be being clothed, we should not be found naked. Go ahead and read.
For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of life.
Pay attention to this now. For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality is swallowed up of life. What life? Eternal life. He's simply saying, I'll be glad when I get that eternal body. But people have taken that and taken it somewhere else. I threw this in just to deal with it. Skip down to verse 6. Verse 6. And read it.
Therefore we are always confident, knowing that whilst we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord.
So he finally called it what it is, the body. We're absent from the Lord. Go ahead and read.
For we walk by faith, not by sight.
Go ahead.
We are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord.
From that day, from this statement here came the outer body experience. I've even had some people in here tell me, you know, brother, boy, I had an outer body experience. I just said, okay. All he's saying is that if you're going to be with the Lord, you can't be in this body.
That's right. You can't be in this.
Let's pursue this. Because you need to understand this, sisters and brothers. And stop thinking that you can float up out of this body. Well, you see, brother, boy, I remember, you know, I thought I was almost dead. And I was floating in the air, looking down on me as I was laying there. Mm-hmm. I've heard that too. I don't say nothing. But let's clear this up. Let's back up to 1 Corinthians 15 chapter. Because he said, look, we want us another tabernacle. We want a better tabernacle than this. So we're housed in this one. He said, when Peter said, when you have to take off this tabernacle. Paul said, when you have to get up out of this body. Because we talking the same thing. 1 Corinthians 15, because we're going to have to get off into some bodies here now. 1 Corinthians 15, and we're going to start reading at verse 35. 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 35. Because what we got to do is see how the Lord is going to do this creation. Not what man has told us, what God has written. Verse 35. Go ahead and read.
But some man will say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come?
Not nowadays. Somebody might have said it in Paul's day. That's the question. How are the dead raised up? And what kind of body they going to have? Nowadays, they don't even think about it. Keep reading.
Thou fool. That which thou sowest is not quickened except it die.
I ain't going to call nobody no fool. But Paul said, look, that which you sow cannot be made alive except this die. In other words, that's what quicken means, made alive. Go ahead and read.
And that which thou sowest not that body that shall be,
go ahead,
but bear grain. It may chance of wheat or of some other grain.
So that means you got to have a body if you're going to get that heavenly body, ain't it? So that what you sow it shall not be the body that shall be, but it bear grain. If you want a stalk of corn, you got to put a kernel of corn in the ground, don't you? If you don't have a kernel of corn to put in the ground, you ain't got nothing coming out, do you? So that bear grain. Go ahead and read.
But God giveth it a body as it hath pleased him.
We're talking body here. Go ahead and read.
And to every seed his own body.
And to every seed his own body. So I hope you like your body. Because you ain't going to get another one. You ain't going to have mine. Well, it feels I don't want to have it either. But anyway, skip down to verse 40 and go ahead. Verse 40. Go ahead.
There are also celestial bodies.
There are also celestial bodies.
And bodies terrestrial.
Now, celestial is a heavenly body, and terrestrial is the earthly body. Go ahead and read.
But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another.
Glory. That means composition. What it's made up and what it look like is all different, one from the other. Go ahead and read.
There's one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon.
Go ahead.
And another glory of the stars. For one star differeth from another star in glory.
He's just using that to let you know that the bodies are different. Go ahead and read.
So also is the resurrection of the dead.
So also is the resurrection of dead.
It is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption.
Sown in corruption. That means it can decompose, but when it raised, it can't be decomposed no more. Go ahead and read.
It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory.
Go ahead.
It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power.
I mean, all power. Like when Jesus come up out the grave and he saw his apostles, he said, all power is given into my hand in heaven and earth. So whatever Jesus has, we're going to have the same thing. Because the Bible said we're going to be joint heirs with it. Raised in power. Go ahead and read.
It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body.
Ain't that something? People don't think, when you think spirit, they don't think body.
That's right.
They think puff of smoke. Something inside of you that give you a feeling. They don't think body. But what's Paul saying here?
The bodies.
It is sown a natural body. it is raised a spiritual body. Go ahead and read.
There's a natural body.
So this is education now. There is a natural body.
And there's a spiritual body.
And there is a spiritual body. Go ahead and read.
And so it is written. The first man, Adam, was made a living soul.
Didn't we read in Genesis the 2nd chapter? If we don't, we will. That the Lord God formed man out of dust of the ground and breathed into his nostril, and man became a living soul. So the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. Go ahead and read.
The last Adam was made a quickening spirit.
And the last Adam was made a quickening spirit. What is that? Who was that last Adam?
Jesus.
Keep reading.
Howbeit, that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural.
Go ahead.
And afterward, that which is spiritual.
So you have to have this body, this natural body, to have a spiritual body. Go ahead and read, because it bears grain, don't it? Go ahead.
The first man is of the earth, earthy.
Go ahead.
The second man is the Lord from heaven.
Oh, so that's the second man, the Lord from heaven. Look, sisters and brothers, just like Adam was the first man created, and I do mean the first man, no matter what all these books say about Lilith and what Cain got his wife from. Had to be somebody else. If you read the book, you know where he's got his wife from. Pay attention why Adam named Eve Eve. He said, I'm going to name you Eve because you are the mother of all living. If you didn't come out of Eve, you don't exist. So the last man, Adam, was the Lord from heaven. So that's Jesus, because he was the first of his kind. No man has died and rose as God. Jesus did. That's why he's the first man, Adam. Adam represents the beginning. Jesus the first. Go ahead and read.
As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy.
Go ahead.
And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly.
They're both different. Go ahead and read.
And as we have borne the image of the earthly, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly.
This is this body that Paul them talking about. The one that he want to be clothed upon. This is the body that Peter want to be clothed upon. As is the earthly, so are the earthly. We was dug out of the ground. But as is the heavenly, that's what I want to be. Go ahead and read.
Now this I say, brethren.
Go ahead.
That flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God.
Wait a minute. So now I see why Paul said he want to be absent from the body. What? This body, so he can be present with the Lord in a spiritual body. Because this kingdom is the Father's kingdom. If you flesh and blood, you can't inherit this kingdom. That's right. So in order for you to inherit this kingdom, you have to get up out of this fleshly body and to be brought and take on a spiritual body. But are we going to relocate? Let's let the Bible tell us. Go ahead and read.
Neither doth corruption inherit incorruption.
Go ahead.
Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep.
This is a mystery. Everybody's not going to die. Go ahead.
But we shall all be changed.
But everybody's going to be changed. All is absolute, isn't it? Go ahead and read.
In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump.
There's that trumpet of Jubilee again. Go ahead and read.
For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible.
Go ahead.
And we shall be changed.
The trumpet going to sound, and the dead going to be raised incorruptible spirit beings, and we're going to be changed into spirit beings. Go ahead and read.
For this corruptible must put on incorruption.
Go ahead.
And this mortal must put on immortality.
That's what it's all about. That's why Paul said that mortality is swallowed up by life. In other words, this mortal body going to be swallowed up by an immortal body, eternal life. We are not going to change residence. The Lord going to change this body. This is your body. He going to fix it. He going to make it immortal. That means you can't die no more. Like he wanted it in the beginning. Go ahead and read.
So in this corruptible shall have put on incorruption.
Go ahead.
And this mortal shall have put on immortality.
Go ahead.
Then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written. Death is swallowed up in victory.
Ain't going to be no more death then. So Paul ain't saying he wants to get out of the body. He said he don't want to retain this body, because if you're in this flesh and blood body, you can't get into God's kingdom. Therefore, if you're in this body, you can't be with the Father. That's the God he's talking about. Ain't that clear?
That's very clear.
Ray Charles can see this. And I told you his condition. Now let's go back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. But because it's something to be learned out of all of this, sisters and brothers. Sure, I can do this a shorter way, but no, you come here to be edified. I want to feed your spirit first before I feed your body. Well, I thought the roof was coming down. Back to 23rd chapter of Leviticus, and let's start at verse 41. Because now you're going to understand these things that you're about to read now. Leviticus 23 and verse 41. 23 and 41. Okay, read it.
And you shall keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days in the year.
Go ahead.
It shall be a statute forever in your generation.
Go ahead.
You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths.
Wait a minute. The thing is 8 days. How come we going to just stay in the booth for 7 days? Because these boots are made out of branches and fragile material, and these boots represent your body. And all God gave you was 7 days, sisters and brothers. 7 days. Each day represents 1,000 years. I don't care how long they said man been around. The word of God told me how long we've been around. 7 days, not 8. You're going to dwell in booths, in this temporary dwelling. What verse are we?
Verse 43.
Go ahead.
That your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths.
Go ahead.
When I brought them out of the land of Egypt, I am the Lord your God.
He said, I'll let you know when I brought them out of Egypt and put these feasts before them, I made them dwell in booths for 7 days. That's on the Feast of Tabernacles. Why 7 days instead of 8? Because the Feast of Tabernacles is 7 days. It represents the existence of man. The time that God gave man to deal with it. Let's back right up to Leviticus, to the 3rd verse of this 23rd chapter. Back up to the 3rd verse of the Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. God made it clear. That's why you keep the Sabbath day. Because remember, at the end of this day represents something greater. The day that the Lord is going to rule this whole earth. Leviticus 23, and we're going to read one verse. This is why we only dwell in the booths 7 days. Go ahead and read.
6 days shall work be done. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest.
Go ahead.
And holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
That is why, sisters and brothers, the Lord gave us 1 week. And he reminds us every week. We count from 1 to 7, then we start all back over, don't we? 1 to 7, then we start. We say, oh, brother, see, I seen this day. You ain't never seen the day that you just come out of before. You ain't going to never see it again. If you saw the same day all the time, you wouldn't age. But the Lord is reminding, at the end of the 7 days, something else happened. So we're going to go into Genesis. Because the Lord's going to tell you when he finished this work. Let's go into Genesis, the 2nd chapter. See, that's why when you understand these feasts are telling you the same story, sisters and brothers, they tell you the same story over and over. God have a plan. He have a time that he given this man. And when this time is over with, this time is over with. He's going to be something else. Because you cannot get 8 out of 7. I don't care whose math you use. Genesis 2, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. But the Lord said he done finished his work. 2 and 1. And we're going, but let me throw something in here real quick. Back up to the 1st chapter of Genesis and start reading at verse 26. Verse 26, go ahead.
And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
Go ahead.
So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them.
So now God created this man, didn't he? Now let's go back to Genesis, the 2nd chapter, and start reading at verse 1. Since we done got us a man that's created, didn't it say God created the man?
Yep.
Go ahead and read. Genesis 2:1. Go ahead.
Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them.
Go ahead.
And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made.
Go ahead.
And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made.
And on the seventh day, God ended all his work which he had made. What does end mean?
Complete.
He ain't doing no more, right? Mm-hmm. And he had rested from all the work which we had made. That means he sat down and he rested, didn't it? Mm-hmm. But go ahead and read.
And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it.
No, he didn't. And that's the only way he blessed and sanctified. People say, well, every day is a Sabbath. Not according to God. Mm-hmm. God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. Go ahead and read.
Because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made.
Because in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. This is getting interesting here. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and read.
These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created.
Now, sisters and brothers, this is why I said the second chapter of Genesis should have started right here. Because now he's finna tell you about it. These are the generations of the heaven and earth when they were created. Go ahead.
And the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heaven.
Go ahead.
And every plant of the field before it was in the earth.
Every plant of the field before it was in the earth. Go ahead and read.
And every herb of the field before it grew.
Go ahead.
For the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth. And there was not a man to till the ground.
Wait a minute. Did we just got through reading that God had created man? Mm-hmm. Then why are you going to tell me that there was not a man to till the ground? Mm-hmm. Because the first chapter of Genesis was a blueprint of God's whole plan from beginning to end. Now he is starting to put it together. Just like you drawing out plans for a building. You map it all out. You know where the washroom is going to be. Mm-hmm. You know where all the other rooms going to be. You know where the banquet area is going to be. You know where the office is going to be. You put it all on paper. And now you start, the carpenters and the masons and the professionals start to bring it into fruition. So the Lord said, so the Bible said there was not a man to till the ground. You know why? Because he hadn't done it, but he spoke as he did, as he already had done it. Go ahead and read.
But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground.
Go ahead.
And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life.
Go ahead.
And man became a living soul.
So that's when he brought the man into existence. He brought him out of the ground now. So when he brought him out, this was man's first day. And God gave man 7 days, sisters and brothers. So his day of rest is going to be man's day of rest. Because that's why he called it the Lord's Sabbath day, not man's. So now, down, and I'm going to show you that this is not talking about this day of rest here. I'm going to show you what he said to Israel in the wilderness when he got mad at them. Let's go in the 95th chapter of Psalm. Psalm chapter 95. Because when he said he rested from all his work, there was not a man to till the ground. Ain't that what we just read? Mm-hmm. So we can't deny that, sisters and brothers. That's why I say you have to pay attention, because the Lord have a great message to send. All you got to do is decide you want to listen to it. Psalm 95, we're going to start at verse 6. Psalm 95, and we're going to start reading at verse 6. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker.
Go ahead.
For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, and the sheep of his hand. Today, if you will hear his voice.
Now he said, come and let us bow down our God. For we the work of his hand, and we are the sheep of his pasture. Today, if thou would hear his voice, go ahead.
Harden not your heart.
In other words, don't let us up. I was a Baptist born, and when I die, I will be a Baptist gone. He said, don't do that. I want you to listen to me. The day that you hear his voice, God ain't speaking to nobody, but he speaks through man. The day that you hear his voice, harden not your heart. Go ahead and read.
As in the provocation.
As in the provocation, go ahead.
And as in the day of temptation in the wilderness.
Because Israel provoked God continually in the wilderness. That's why he called it the day of temptation in the wilderness. Go ahead.
When your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my work. 40 years long was I grieved with this generation, and said, it is a people that do err in their heart, and they have not known my ways.
He said, look, that's why they ended up in the wilderness for 40 years. They tempted God. They proved God. And they would not listen to God. He said, so 40 years long I was grieved with this people. And look what he said about them. Go ahead and read.
Unto whom I swear in my wrath.
Unto whom I swear in my wrath.
That they should not enter into my rest.
That they should not enter into my rest. Wait a minute. When the Lord said he rested, there was not a man to till the ground. Ain't that what we read? So what day of rest is this? This is the rest that he spoke about, but it is at the end of the creation. Not the beginning. This is the rest that he spoke about. It was at the end of the creation, sisters and brothers. Now let's go into Hebrews, the 4th chapter, and get some more clarity on it. Hebrews chapter 4. Because, sisters and brothers, before you get the physical food, when you come to Israel of God, we're going to give you some spiritual food. You might throw it up, but we're going to stuff it in your mouth. It's all that simple. Why, Brother Bowie? Because the Lord said, I set you as a watchman. If I bring a sword upon the land, and you don't warn the people and they don't listen, they're going to die in their sin, and you have delivered yourself. But if I bring a sword upon the land, watchman, and you don't warn the people, they still going to die in their sin, but their blood is going to be on you. My blood is enough. I don't want yours on me. Hebrews 4 and verse 1. Hebrews 4 and 1. Now, Paul is warning you, don't be like them people in the wilderness. Go ahead and read.
Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it.
Go ahead.
For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it.
He said, look now, the same promise that was made to them is made to us. The same gospel that was preached to them, that's the same gospel we got. God ain't putting nothing new on the table.
Right.
He said, but it didn't profit them because they didn't have no faith. In other words, they didn't believe God. Go ahead and read.
For we which have believed do enter into rest.
Go ahead.
As he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world.
Although the works was finished from the foundation of the world. How do we know that? He's going to give us an example. What is that example? Read it.
For he spake in a certain place of the 7th day.
Go ahead.
On this wise. And God did rest the 7th day from all his works.
Now we read that in Genesis, the 2nd chapter, didn't we? He said the work was finished from the foundation of the world. And then he said, because look, he told us in a certain place on the 7th day on this wise. And God did rest from the 7th day from all of his works. He called in from the beginning. He laid out his blueprint. Now skip down to verse 11. And let's see what Paul telling us to do and the people in his generation. Verse 11. Go ahead and read.
Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief.
He said, now let us labor to enter into that rest. What rest? The Lord's day of rest. The day that he said he finished all his work and he rested on. The 7th day. How can the people in the wilderness be in that day, and the people in Paul's day be in that day, and the people in our day be on the same day? Unless that's after the first resurrection when the Lord had came. That's the only way. All these people, all of us, 1,000 years apart, could end up on the same day. Whether you live or die. Because the Lord's going to come and you're going to have the first resurrection. Because the Lord called it, sisters and brothers. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Again, let's go into Isaiah, the 46th chapter. Isaiah chapter 46. Because the Lord called it. But don't nobody listen. That's when I hear people talking about I'm a New Testament Christian, I just shake my head. You don't have a clue of what's going on. Both of these testaments are on time. They simultaneously talking about the same thing. All you got to do is read it. Isaiah 46, and we're going to start at verse 9. Isaiah 46 and verse 9. Isaiah 46 and verse 9. Okay, go ahead.
Remember the former things of old, for I am God, and there is none else.
He said, remember the former things of old, for I am God, and there is none else. Go ahead and read.
I am God, and there's none like me.
Say it again. Go ahead and read.
Declaring the end from the beginning.
Declaring the end from the beginning.
And from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure.
Declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, things that are not yet done. Because he's telling us that can't nobody frustrate my plan. I done laid it out. Can't nobody stop me. I'm going to tell you how you're going to end. Now, you got to decide what side of this ending you're going to be. But I'm telling you, sisters and brothers, I declare the end from the beginning. I speak of from ancient days, the thing that's going to happen in the last days. So he already told us, sisters and brothers. So now, when he said, taking off this old tabernacle, hey, if you want to get in the Father's kingdom, you got to take this off. But let's go back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, because we're still dealing with this Feast of Tabernacles. We'll be out of here in a little bit. We're going to get at this food in a minute. Leviticus 23. Because we need to understand this. If he didn't want us to understand it, we wouldn't be here. He wouldn't have written it. Leviticus 23, and we're going to start reading at verse 9. Because we're going to deal with this harvest. 23 and 9. 23 and 9. Okay, go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when you be come into the land which I give unto you,
go ahead,
and shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest.
Now, when you go in your land, and you shall grow your crops, when you reap the harvest, you're going to bring a sheaf of the first fruit to the priest. Go ahead and read.
And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it.
Now, whenever you reap this harvest, you can't wave it until the morrow after the Sabbath. That's the first day of the week, ain't it? That is the 8th day, sisters and brothers. Tomorrow after the Sabbath shall we wave it. What verse?
We just finished verse 11.
Go ahead.
And you shall offer that day when ye wave the sheaf an he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto the Lord.
Now you got to bring a he lamb without blemish. Why he lamb without blemish? Because this he lamb represents Jesus, sisters and brothers, of the first year before the Lord. Keep on reading.
And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savor, and the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the 4th part of an hin.
See, we don't do that no more, sisters and brothers, since the Lord done died. But skip right on down. What verse was that?
That was 13. We have 14.
Go ahead to 14. Go ahead and read.
And you shall eat neither bread nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your God. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings.
He said, I don't want you to eat nothing until you come and make this wave shift before me. I mean, like nothing. Go ahead and read.
And you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath. From the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete.
Now here we go with the 7th Sabbath again. 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. And what we going to do on that? On the 7th Sabbath. Go ahead and read.
Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall you number 50 days. And ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. You shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits of the Lord.
But we already had a first fruit with 1 lamb, didn't we? Now we're going to count to 49 days and add 1 day, which is 50, tomorrow after the Sabbath day. And we're going to have another wave offering of first fruits to the Lord. But these first fruit, he said, use fine flour to bake with leaven. In other words, the first wave chef offering, sister, brother, with the 1 lamb was Jesus. He didn't have no sins. But those of us going to be in the first resurrection, the next first resurrection, we are people that had sin, but have had our sin cleaned up. You're going to wave that on what day?
Tomorrow after the Sabbath.
On the day after the Sabbath day, the 8th day. Go ahead and read what verse?
We're at 18.
Go ahead.
And you shall offer with the with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock and 2 rams.
This is enough of that, but remember the first one was 1 lamb, don't it? Now this one is 7 lambs. 7 represent complete, sisters and brothers. You're going to offer them when? On the first day of the week. Because the first fruit was Jesus. Let's go and let the book tell you. Let's go into 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. I mean, the Lord is teaching you in so many ways until you can learn 2, 3 things on while you're learning one thing. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and we're going to start reading at verse 21. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and we're going to start reading at verse 21. 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 21. Okay. Read it.
For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead.
Because Adam is the one that brought death into this creation. So Jesus had to become man and take death out, and he's going to do it. Go ahead.
For as in Adam all die.
Go ahead.
Even so in Christ shall all be made alive.
As in Adam all die, even so in Jesus shall all be made alive. All is absolute. No matter who it is or how ugly you are, you're going to live forever. You just got to decide where you're going to live at. So everybody's going to be made alive. Go ahead and read.
But every man in his own order.
But every man in his own order. Go ahead.
Christ the first fruit.
Christ the first fruit. Look, sisters and brothers. When Jesus rose from the dead, and on the first day of the week when Mary went out there and found he was gone, and the disciples went on about their way, Jesus walked up on Mary, and when she recognized who he was, she started to grab him. He said, touch me not, for I have not gone to my Father. You understand? But you go and you tell my brother and I go to my Father, their Father, my God and their Father. Why couldn't she touch him? Because he was the first fruit. And he said, and the prophet said, don't eat parched corn or anything until you have waved it before God to be accepted. Jesus had to be accepted. So once he went on, then later on, the women grabbed him by the feet. That's right. He told Thomas, put your finger in my side, and my holes in my hand. Thrust your hand in my side. You can have me all you want. You know why? Because he was the first fruit and he had been accepted. But then there's another first fruit. Jesus the first is read that again. Everyone in their own order.
But every man in his own order.
Go ahead.
Christ the first fruit.
Christ the first fruit.
Afterward they that are Christ at his coming.
That is the other one with the leavened bread that is going to be presented before the Lord on the seventh day. That's you and I. Because everybody in here have some sin, sisters and brothers. But we be cleaned up. So Jesus is the first fruit. And the rest of them are here at his coming. Is the Lord here? Then that means ain't nobody the dead is still dead, ain't it? And I don't know if no living has been changed to nobody. Everybody I saw leave this earth, they died and they put them in the ground like the Lord said. So nothing happened until the Lord comes. Jesus is the first fruit, and the rest of us, he's going to bring forth when he comes. What time is that? First resurrection. Let's go into Revelation 20th chapter and look at it. I'm just showing you all these little things, sisters and brothers. Because after this, we ain't got but three more places to go. I'm going to give you some hope. So you won't get tired and walk up out of here and leave all that good food without eating. Revelation 20, and we're going to start reading at verse 4. Revelation 20 and verse 4. Go ahead and read.
And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them.
Go ahead.
And judgment was given unto them.
Go ahead.
And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God.
Go ahead.
And which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their forehead or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
See, these are the people that was right, sisters and brothers. A lot of them got killed standing for this truth. And some more going to get killed during the Great Tribulation standing for the truth. But then but more going to live. He said, and they lived and reign with Christ 1,000 years. They're going to actually help rule this thing. These are the saints. Go ahead and read.
But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished.
Go ahead.
This is the first resurrection.
See, now, most people have been in church all their life and don't know that there's more than one resurrection. If you're in the first resurrection, you don't have to stand in judgment. You will be the judge.
That's right.
I think I like to be the judge instead of be the judgee.
That's right.
You understand? And they live with Christ 1,000 years. Go ahead and read.
Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection.
Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection.
On such the second death hath no power.
Go ahead.
But they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years.
The second death is the lake of fire. Ain't going to have no power over you then, because you're going to be God. You're going to preach to God, and you're going to rule with Jesus 1,000 years. But the Lord had already put Satan away, because while Jesus is on this earth, he ain't going to be fooling around with no naughty angel. So he told one angel, I want you to lock him up and put him in the bottomless pit until his 1,000 years is over with. Go ahead and read.
And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison.
Now look, sisters and brothers, as the 1,000 years are expired, Satan's going to be released, and he's going to get Russia, and they're going to go and deceive people from the four corners of the earth. After 1,000 years of teaching by Jesus, and all these saints, these immortals running around, speaking to you from behind, and you can't see them.
Right.
Still, people are going to follow Satan. So much that he says it's going to be like the sands of the sea. He going to persuade them. You got them old saint that old camp up there where Jesus at. He think he's something. Let's go up there and make war against that camp and knock them off. They're going to surround the camp of the saints, which is going to be in Jerusalem, but then fire going to come down from heaven and going to destroy, kill them people. Then the Lord going to deal with Satan the devil. Skip down to verse 10. What's he going to do with him now? Go ahead.
And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone,
where
the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever.
See, when you go in the lake of fire, that means God, that's it. Ain't no more coming back. He ain't got no more use for you.
That's right.
He used Satan. Since Satan going to be evil, I'm going to use you to do my evil bidding. I'm going to use you to whoop head. I'm going to use you to kill. I'm going to use you to bring men together in war. But once I ain't got no more use for you, you go to the place of no return, the lake of fire, where the beast and false prophet already are. Two men that beat Satan into the lake of fire. Go ahead and read.
And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away.
Go ahead.
And there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were open, and another book was open.
And he saw the books was open, and another book was open. Go ahead and read.
Which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the book.
They were judged out of those things which was written in some history book.
In the books.
Or some novel.
In the books.
That book in your hand, that's what you're going to be judged out of. That's why it would behoove you to find out what's written in it.
That's right.
Because your salvation is laying in your lap right now. You would do well to learn about it. Because this thing is going to happen. And don't be foolish. Like a brother told me a long time ago in Washington Park, what if there ain't no resurrection? I said, what if there is? If there ain't no resurrection, what have I missed? You understand? I still got to eat. I still had to get me a little sip of cognac every now and then. But I kept the law. So if I don't wake up, I don't know I'm not being paid. Because the dead know nothing. I can read you that. But then what if I do wake up? And I've done all them bad things. And I'm looking at this fire over here. And I'm looking at that long line over there. And I'm looking at the Lord and said, next. And I seen an angel grab that body. What you going to do then? He didn't want to talk no more. Every time you say, what if there isn't? I said, what if there is? Put that in your mind, sisters and brothers. I'd rather get caught with a ticket to China in case ain't no plane than to get caught without one if there ain't nothing but buses. Nothing but boats. You understand what I'm saying? But go ahead and read what verse?
Middle of 12.
Middle of 12, go ahead.
And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the book.
They were judged out of those things which was written in the book. Go ahead and read.
According to their works.
According to their works. Don't you know people are teaching, ministers are teaching people that you don't have to do no work? Christ did it all. But look, what did the book say you're going to be judged according to, sisters and brothers?
Your works.
Your works. Now you're going to get up there and you ain't got no works? Somebody's trying to kill you. Mm-hmm. Like the guy that got mad at me that time when I told him that your preacher it was an undertaker. He got upset at me. I shouldn't have said that. But it's out, so it's over with now, right? Go ahead and read.
And the sea gave up the dead which were in it. And death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them.
Go ahead.
And they were judged every man according to their works.
And hell, that's talking about Sheol. That's the grave, sisters and brothers. Because once you got, see, people use that word hell as a lake of fire. Hell is a state of condition. But you can come up out the grave. So the death and hell gave up the one that was in them. Go ahead and read.
And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death.
So when he said death and hell was cast in the lake of fire, that means there is no more dying now. Mm-hmm. Jesus had to terminate all death. Let's go and show you. Let's go back now to 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. That 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter is a powerful chapter, ain't it? I remember seeing one of my Hebrew brothers going to get up and preach a funeral, and he going to preach against the resurrection out of the 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. Even his own father was looking at him weird. If you're going to teach against the resurrection, don't go here. This is the wrong place because it's all about resurrection. 1 Corinthians 15, and we're going to start reading at verse 24. 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 24. That's because when you don't have no understanding, sisters and brothers, you might say anything. Verse 24, go ahead and read.
Then cometh the end.
Then cometh the end. You know when the Lord say he ended all this work? You know what he say, call the end from the beginning? Then cometh the end. Go ahead and read.
When he shall have delivered up the kingdom to God, even the Father.
Go ahead.
When he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power.
Look, when he shall deliver up the kingdom to the Father. When he shall have put down all rule and all authorities. I mean, he going to put everything down. Go ahead and read.
For he must reign till he hath put all enemies under his feet.
All enemies under his feet. Go ahead and read.
The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death.
And the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. Like I tell brothers that want to wear the fringes. I said there was three things that God added to the creation because of sin. Fringes, animal sacrifice, and death. He had removed the animal sacrifice when the veil of the temple ripped, and it removed the fringes when he said, I'm going to put my laws and write them in your mind. And now, after the white throne judgment, he's going to remove death. The only thing that the Lord removed is something that he added because of sin. He said, now, he must reign until he had put all enemies on his feet, and the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. Skip down and read verse 28. Verse 28, go ahead.
And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that God may be all in all.
So now when Jesus finished all this, sisters and brothers, now he's going to turn around and he's going to turn it over to the Father. But Jesus ain't going to finish his work until the end of the seventh day, sisters and brothers, which is the Lord's day of rest, which also is the Feast of Tabernacles, at the end of the Feast of Tabernacles. That's when it's all going to be done. Jesus' work will be finished, which is the creation. It will be finished, sisters and brothers. Then he's going to turn it over to the Father, whose kingdom starts on the 8th day. That's why in Revelation, the 21st chapter, it starts right after the white throne judgment. Let's go back to Revelation 21. Revelation 21. And we got one more place after this. See, most people don't pay no attention to this. We're going to read the 15th verse of verse 20 first. And we're just going to act like chapter 21 is there. See, because the Lord didn't have the Bible, the scripture that they got this from didn't have chapters in it, didn't have paragraphs, it didn't have none of that. It was just written. So we're going to act like this is written, that we don't have chapter 21. We're going to read first verse 15 of 20, and we're going to keep reading. Verse 15, go ahead.
And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire.
Go ahead.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away.
So now all of a sudden now, death is cast into the lake of fire. All the people that come up short into the lake of fire. Now here come a new heaven and a new earth. Go ahead and read.
And the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea.
Ain't that something? This new heaven and this new earth it came down from God out of heaven, didn't it? And in this one, there was no more sea. Right. Go ahead, because the sea and all this water was made for man. Go ahead and read.
And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God.
Look, at this time, man won't be called man will be God. But I know why the Lord had man put here, because he knew everybody is going to be saying, we going to be with the Lord. But no, the Lord said he is coming to be with you. He won't be man no more, but he left man now so he will let you understand that you're not coming up to me, I'm coming down to you. I'm bringing my whole kingdom, my whole entourage down to you. Go ahead and read.
And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death.
And there shall be no more death. Why is it that there ain't going to be no more death? Because Jesus terminated it before the Father's kingdom came. He terminated death. Go ahead and read.
Neither sorrow, nor crying.
Go ahead.
Neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away.
Oh, that's going to be gone. Go ahead and read.
And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful.
He said, I make all things new. This earth was prepared for man now. But when he come to earth, he going to totally redo it. He's going to make all things new. Only thing he did with this earth, he created it to live, to exist forever, because it was created to be inhabited by beings that live forever. Look what else he said. Go ahead and read.
And he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega.
Look what he said, sisters and brothers. It is done. Think about it. It is done. The Lord called it in from the beginning. He gave man 7 days. Now it is done. Go ahead.
I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely.
In other words, everybody that thirsts for this word, he going to give you immortality. It is done, sisters and brothers. What is done? God's recovering of this man. This man sinned on the first day of his creation. And God had to come up with a way to keep from killing him. So he hid him under the blood of animals until he came. That's why you have the thing Passover. That's why when the priest went before the veil, he dipped his finger in the animal blood. And he sprinkled it 7 times before the veil. Why 7 times? Because man had 7 days, and every day he sinned. Therefore, he had to be purged every day. But now, at the end of it, when there ain't no more man, then the Lord's going to have his Passover again, like he told the apostle. I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I die. He said, but I will not eat this Passover, drink of the blood again until I do it in my Father's kingdom. Why did he wait for his Father's kingdom? Because in his Father's kingdom, there ain't going to be no more sinners. There ain't going to be no more people that have sins to be passed over, because there will be no more man. It's just going to be God. So the Passover is not over until the last flesh and blood man is changed. And after that, sisters and brothers, then Jesus said, I'm going to celebrate it in my Father's kingdom. He can't do it in his kingdom. You know why? Because he still got sinners. So this is what this tabernacle represents, sisters and brothers, the end time. That's why it had the 8th day that followed the 7th. The 7 days is among men, but the 8th day, all God. I know you understood that. Thank you for your time.
Brother Booth.
Huh? I got one more?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they remind me of one more. I was going to kind of like skip it. But I got to remember why we read this, because, you know, we got some holy people in here. And when we drink out these drinks, we're going to be all tagged sinners. So we're going to show you. Let's go into Deuteronomy, the 14th chapter. Deuteronomy chapter 14. I'm going to pass by this here. No, don't do it, boy. Because you're going to leave people out of here. We done had all this lesson. Now, when you put that wine on the table, everybody going to leave. Deuteronomy 14, Deuteronomy chapter 14. You know, I keep telling this story every year. The last feast we had at the Dalton Expo Center, you know, right over in Dalton. We used to rent that every year. But a church bought it. And but they had to let us go through with the rent because we was under contract. And man, we broke out that wine. They was offended, but they couldn't do nothing. I think one of the church trustees walked me to my car when we was leaving. Well, brother, we want to make sure nothing happened to you, Pastor. He wasn't walking me for my safety. He just wanted to make sure I got off their property. for doing this abominable thing like drinking liquor. Deuteronomy 14 and start at verse 22. 14 and 22. Go ahead and read.
Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed, that the field bringeth forth year by year.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name there.
Go ahead.
The tithe of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thine oil, and the firstlings of thy herds and of thy flocks, that thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always.
He said, I want you to do it in all your generations, the place that I choose. Person told me, well, he didn't choose here. We ain't back in Jerusalem. We can't keep it. The Lord said in all your dwellings, didn't he? And also he said, anywhere that there's two or more gathered together in my name, I'm with them. Ain't that what he said? He chose this. That's why you here. Go ahead and read.
And if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from thee, which the Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there.
Go ahead.
When the Lord thy God hath blessed thee.
He said, now if it's too long for you to drive your cows, or too long for you to drive your oxen, whatever you're going to contribute to this, or too long for you to bring your wine, then this is what I want you to do. Go ahead and read.
Then shalt thou turn it into money.
Then you're going to sell this, whatever you are going to have at the feast, you're going to sell it and get the money. Go ahead and read.
And bind up the money in thine hand, and shall go into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose.
And you shall go to the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. Go ahead.
And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after.
That's within reason now. Okay, go ahead.
For oxen.
For oxen.
Or for sheep.
For sheep.
Or for wine.
For wine.
Or for strong drink.
Should I say it, man?
Yeah. Please.
Y'all sure?
Yeah.
Jack Daniels. Go ahead, finish it.
Or for whatsoever thy soul desireth. And thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to eat some food. We're going to sip a little pluck. And we're going to enjoy ourselves before the Lord our God, because this is a good day, sisters and brothers.
Thank you for tuning in to today's lesson. If you are in the Chicagoland area, we welcome you to join our church community every Saturday at 12 noon Central. We are located at 520 West 138th Street in Riverdale, Illinois. Our ministry is made possible by your donations. To make a donation or to view all of our locations across the world, please visit our website at www.theisraelofgod.com.